Hello. Today I am going to help you to learn English with another story about a remarkable woman in American history. If this is your first time here with me, I'm Tanya. I'm the creator of our She Speaks Fluency program. I live here in California, and I have a great story for you today so that you can learn more vocabulary and English phrases in the best way possible in a story. So, if you've been following along, you know this is the 10th story about a remarkable woman that I have been sharing with you here on YouTube. And I'm very excited to share with you today about Shirley Chisholm. Shirley is the kind of person who inspires me, but now that I've had a chance to kind of find out a little bit more about her while I was researching things to tell you, I'm even more inspired by her. She is definitely remarkable. So I have 10 things to share with you, and I'm going to tell you how you can use this video to learn more English. So let's go ahead and get started. Shirley Chisholm was born on November 30th, 1924, in Brooklyn, New York, to immigrant parents. So there are many immigrants here on my channel. You can probably relate to Shirley because she also had immigrant parents. Her parents were from Barbados and Guyana. And part of her childhood was actually in Barbados, which kind of helped to shape who she was, to make her who she was. My number two thing for you about Shirley Chisholm is that she attended Brooklyn College, where she earned a degree in sociology. And later, she earned a master's degree in early childhood development from Columbia University. So, our first 4-year degree here in the United States is called a bachelor's. Then, if you go ahead and add 2 more years to that, usually it's 2 more years, for a total of 6 years, that's what we call a master's degree. So we have our bachelor's degree, and then we get our master's degree. And then some people go on to get a doctorate. And you've heard me talk a little bit about this in some of my other videos about the incredible women and other people that I've talked about here on my channel. She did work as a teacher and an educational consultant, so that's very dear to my heart. And this is what fueled her interest in advocating for the underserved and the marginalized communities. So let's talk about two of those words. It fueled her interest. So it's one of the things fueled her in wait, let me make sure I spell this right. Fueled her interest. It's one of the things that made her interested in helping people. It fueled her interest. Now, this is just one of the phrases you're going to learn here today, but this is one that if you have not been using it, if you haven't heard it, or even if you have heard it, but you haven't used it, it's something that you could start using because the phrase, something that makes you interested, is pretty common and pretty easy to remember. All you have to do is change that one word. It fueled her interest. Like you put fuel into your car so that it will go. Being a teacher is what fueled her to go towards helping other people. So I hope that helps you to understand that. Give me a thumbs up or let me know. I don't understand. I'm still confused. You can tell me in the comments, or just give me a like or a heart so that I know if you're following along here with me. Hello, I see some of our regulars are here live. If you are here for the first time, Introduce yourself. Let me know where you're from, where you're listening from, and a little bit about why you're learning English. I like to get to know the people here in these live classes. So, and speaking of live classes, I'm having a different type of live class this Saturday, September 7th at 12:15 p.m. So this is right about lunchtime here in California. I'm going to be having a live class where you can come and talk to me on Zoom to find out if working with me is something that will help you with your English. I'm going to be teaching you 3 things that is going to help you to become more fluent. And this class is for women who have an intermediate or above level of English. If you would like to sign up for this class, I'll put the link in the description below. All right, so Shirley Chisholm, I've shared 2 things with you. Oh, I wanted to talk about the word marginalized. If you've never heard of this word before, marginalized, it might be a little more difficult than the last phrase I was telling you, but if you're an advanced learner, you could start using this word. Otherwise, if you're not, if you're an intermediate learner, you can just know that these marginalized people are people that are pushed to the side. So people that are not given enough attention, particularly by the government or the education system or something like that. So marginalized people might include women, African Americans, Native Americans, which you might also hear them called Indians, people of color, immigrants, people who live in poverty. These people are marginalized. And this word comes from, when you look at a piece of paper, this is the margin. You can even see the margin is marked here, the margin. So people who are marginalized are pushed to the side. They're not in the center. So that's where this word comes from. So if you're an advanced student, that's something you could add to your conversations. You will definitely hear this word in the news or other other stories about history, that kind of thing in education. So if you're an intermediate student, don't worry about memorizing this word. Nobody worry about memorizing this word. See if you will hear it again in another way. I also really want to help marginalized people, which is one of the reasons I have this YouTube channel where you can help by putting comments, by liking, by sharing with your friends, and this Saturday coming to that free class for women. All right, number 3, Shirley Chisholm entered into politics in 1964. Okay, this was just a little before I was born, but she was elected to the New York State Assembly, where she worked on issues like unemployment insurance and support for domestic workers, people working here in the United States. And she was a strong advocate for social justice. Advocate is a word I've talked about before in this series, and I have linked the series below so that you can go and watch one of those videos next. Number 4 is that she was the first African American Congresswoman. So she was the first Black woman elected to the Congress. And I think this is a huge thing. This was in 1968. So I was just a little tiny girl at the time that she was elected to the United States Congress, representing New York's 12th congressional district. So that's kind of cool. And her slogan, you may remember other slogans that you've heard in politics. I'm not going to mention any from today, right now, because it's so divisive in our country right now. And I am really advocating, or I am a person who really wants to bring people in my country back together. But you may remember Barack Obama's slogan was, "Yes, we can." And that slogan actually came from one of the remarkable women I spoke about in this series. So, again, that's linked below. Shirley Chisholm's slogan is unbought and unbossed. Unbought and unbossed. Now, I love this slogan because what she meant when she said that is nobody was buying her. Nobody was giving her money and telling her what she should think or do as a politician. This is super rare. And unbossed is the same thing. She didn't have someone above her that was telling her what to do as a politician. And so, for that reason, she was saying she worked for the people, all the American people. In fact, in one of the videos I watched, she was very clear that she didn't want to be known as a person who was there for women or Black people, but rather for all people. And I think this is huge in the way that she ran her politics. All right. Number 5 is her legislative achievements. Legislative is a very difficult word to say. In fact, I was working with someone today on this word. So if you are having difficulty saying the word legislative, remember that the G, I'll write it here in the comments, legislative is a soft G. So we're not saying leg like our leg. No, ledge, j like Joe or John or jump. Legislative. She focused on issues such as education, employment opportunities, and healthcare. These are things you'll hear a lot in our country when we talk about politics. She was also an advocate for women's rights, civil rights, and social justice. Social justice. There's that soft J again. Justice. And she, I'm looking at my notes here. She co-founded the Congressional Black Caucus and the National Women's Political Caucus. A caucus is just a meeting of people in the same political party. Caucus, I want to make sure I spell it correctly. This is a political word. I wouldn't spend a lot of time focusing on this word. Again, just notice it and see if you hear it, especially if you like to listen to the news or politics. This is a word that you will hear about a meeting of people in the same political party working for the same issue. And then number 6, one of the really incredible things about this remarkable woman is that she ran for president in 1972. So in 1972, I was starting school. I was probably in my first year of school, maybe my second year of school. I'm not sure. And she became the first African American woman to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. As you know, we have already nominated a Black woman to the presidential party, the Democratic Party having a hard time speaking English here. The Democratic Kamala Harris is running as the Democratic candidate for president right now. And so she was actually nominated to that position. Shirley Chisholm had a lot of challenges. This was back in 1972. So one of the things you could say is that she paved the way for other people of color in politics in general, which I think is very important since in our Constitution, we say that we are for the people, meaning all of the people in the United States. And of course, in the United States, one of the best parts of the United States is that we are people from all over the world, and we are what we might call a melting pot. And one of the reasons I think this is so wonderful is that we get perspectives from all over, people who see things differently so that we can learn from each other, which I think is one of the coolest things you can do, whether you're talking about a country or a classroom or a group of people. I think this kind of diversity is really important and also really cool because we learn a lot of things from different people. Unfortunately, Shirley Chisholm faced a lot of discrimination, and she actually had a lack of support from her own party, but she had a lot of courage and she kept campaigning to break the barrier. The barrier is something that stops you. She wanted to break the barrier for minorities and women. Minorities are those people that have been marginalized. It's not exactly the same meaning, but minorities are people that aren't in the majority. So people who are in the majority have more numbers, the minority have fewer numbers, or there's more of those people in that particular place is the majority, and the minority would be fewer of those people in that particular place. Her legacy is celebrated for her unwavering commitment to equality, justice, and representation for all people, like I mentioned a little bit ago. But I really wanted to tell you this word, unwavering. I'll write it here for you, unwavering, which means that she never stopped. She was consistent, steady, and unchanging. So unwavering is a little bit like consistent, but it also includes unchanging. Consistency is such an important word for us if we are learning a second language like I am in Spanish and you are in English. We need to be consistent, but consistency in language learning doesn't mean it never changes. It just means that every day you're doing something so that your brain doesn't stop and think, oh, they're not going to look at English anymore. No, you want your brain every day to at least have a little bit of English. Maybe you read a little, listen a little, speak a little. That would be a really great thing. Whatever it is, you want to have at least a little bit of English every day, which is another reason why I make these videos, because I have lots and lots of videos you can watch here so that you can stay consistent. Okay, number 8, I want to talk about the honors that Shirley Chisholm received, and one of which was the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which sadly was awarded to her posthumously. We did talk about this in other of the others in this same series, but after she died in 2015, she was given this very high award or recognition, which is called the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I'm curious if you have ever heard of Shirley Chisholm. If you're listening to me live, you can put it here in the chat, or you could put it in the comments if you're listening to the recording. Have you heard of her before? Did you know all of these things about her? I'm going to see, we have a couple of comments here in our live video. VH says that they are watching from the Chiapas in Mexico, eager for another interesting woman's biography. This is wonderful. I don't know if you know this, VH, but I visited Oaxaca, actually stayed there for a month in Mexico. I actually had a Spanish teacher who was from the Chiapas, so I know a little tiny bit about the Chiapas. I see we have Carolina here from Chihuahua, Mexico. Mexico is very well represented today. We have a listener from Japan, and also Lourdes. Hello, it's good to see you. Lourdes is one of our regulars here on my live videos, so it's great to see you all here. Okay, number 9, even though she didn't win the nomination for president of the US, she did go back to Congress and continued working hard. I think this is one of the things that makes her the most remarkable, is that even though she lost something that was very important to her, it didn't stop her. She kept going and she kept working hard for what she believed in. And I was thinking about this is, I think, a very important role model for us as language learners, because learning a language is very, very difficult. It takes time. And if you've been doing it for any amount of time, you know that it takes hard work. I really enjoy it. I hope that you enjoy it too. For me, there are many parts to it that are fun. In fact, I would say most of my language learning journey is fun, but there are some parts to it that are difficult and can sometimes be a drag. What do I mean when I say something is a drag? To say something is a drag means it's a bummer. This is another way. It's it's difficult. It's not good. It's hard. It's um, awful. I wouldn't say learning a language is awful because I love it so much, but it can be for some people. It can be really, really difficult. So I'm curious for you, is learning a language a drag? Or is it something that you really enjoy? Let me know in the comments. I see another person just joined from Japan, and we have Loco here from Argentina. Hannah says, I've not heard of her, meaning Shirley Chisholm. And for me, it is very interesting to get to know about these remarkable women you spoke about. Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome, Hannah. Thank you for your comment. Your comments here on the live video and also in the recording really mean the world to me. And what I mean when I say that is it's one of the things that keeps me going because I see that people enjoy it and are getting a lot out of it. And that really gives me energy to keep making more videos. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I was saying that Shirley Chisholm was a role model because even when she did not achieve her big goal, she kept going towards doing what she could. And I think this is something we need to remember when we're learning a language. I know for me, as a Spanish language learner, there have been times when I thought, I don't want to do this anymore, or this is just too hard, or I am never going to get there. And I've taken the time to talk to one of my teachers or one of my fellow learners, one of my classmates, someone who knows how I feel, so that I can get encouragement and keep going. And I think that, like any remarkable person, Shirley Chisholm had people around her like you and I have people around us. We need to lean on those people sometimes. We need to ask for encouragement and get that encouragement. So, as you may know, one of the things I like to do is to share a quote with you from this remarkable woman. And so my 10th thing today is to share. I'm actually going to share two quotes, and you'll know why here in just a minute, because they really directly speak to us as language learners. And of course, they speak to many other things. But the first one is, let them continue to think I am crazy. She said, let them continue to think I am crazy. I think I might have shared this with the She Speaks Women's program this week or last week. If you're in that program, you can remind me. I like this because basically what she means is no matter what anybody else thinks about me, I'm going to do what I think is the right thing to do. I'm going to stick to my principles, meaning I'm going to stick to what I think is important. And I know that this is also really important for us as language learners. Let them continue to think, I wrote this down, similar. Let them continue to think I don't speak fast enough. Let them continue to think whatever they want about my English. I'm going to keep learning more. So, my hope for you is that, especially if you speak to people here in the United States, those people will be kind and understanding. And most of my students have said that usually that's what happens. But there are those that are not kind. And if you speak to someone who is in any way unkind to you as a bilingual person, I hope you will remember Shirley Chisholm saying, let them think whatever they want. I'm going to keep learning English. And then her second quote that I want to share with you, and then I want to see what I see we've got some people writing in the comments, so I definitely want to see that. Is the second thing she said is, I have no intention of sitting quietly and observing. I intend to focus attention on the nation's problems. So I want to break this down for you. To break this down means I want to make it into little pieces so you can understand. She says, I have no intention. Basically, she means there's no way I'm going to do that. I have no intention of sitting quietly and observing. She said, I'm not just going to sit here and observe. I'm not just going to sit here and watch what happens. And then she said, I intend to focus attention on the nation's problem. She said, I'm going to focus on the problem, meaning so that she can make a difference. And I think that we need to think of how we can reword this for ourselves. I have no intention of sitting quietly and worrying about what other people think of my English or my second language. I intend to focus my intention on doing what I can do to learn more and have more understandable conversations, more clear conversations, more enjoyable conversations, and for me, more meaningful conversations. You may have heard me say before, my number one goal in learning Spanish is to have meaningful conversations with people who speak Spanish. So let me see what you've said here in the comments. One person says, hi, Tanya and everybody. I'm from Japan. I can't read your name because it's in kanji. I don't read kanji. I'd love to read kanji, though. Christina says, I enjoy your videos a lot, too, from Argentina. Thank you, Christina. I know you've been here before and left kind words before. Thank you for continuing to do that. Maria de Gracia, I'm not sure how to say that. Chagas, I like so much to learn English. Actually, I study English and read good books is the best for me. That is a fabulous way to learn, Maria. I'm glad that you are finding what works for you. Hi, Vicky just came on and says that she's also from Argentina. Vicky is a very special name to me from my childhood. It's great to see other people name that as well. Okay, I said I wanted to teach you or share with you what you could do with this video so that you can um, use it to learn more English. And that is to pick one or two words that you heard here today and start using them in your conversations. So I would write the word down on a small piece of paper and think of ways that you might use it in a conversation. And then maybe ask ChatGPT to help you with some ideas. You can work with ChatGPT to come up with an idea on how you could use it. And I would go for just one. I know it's tempting to do like 5 or 10, but do just one. Next week, you can do another one, or once you've used this first word, you can do another one, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't want to get too much. And then go on to the next one after you have done that. If you understood most of the video today, go watch the recording and see if you can understand more. You might even try closing your eyes while you're listening to the video, or watching and then closing your eyes to see if that helps you to understand more of what I'm saying. And I know that if you're here today, you are wanting to learn more English with real stories and you're interested in these remarkable women. So next, I'd like for you to watch the video I'll put here when I put up the recording, or one of the videos I have below. See you in the next one.